Hello everyone and welcome to today's program. I'm Tang Jingyuan. The official shoe has finally dropped. Chongqing Mayor Hu Henghua has been officially announced as under investigation. But make no mistake, this is just the beginning of the storm. On the very same day, a former senior Chongqing official received a life sentence, while across the country, detention centers and prisons are overflowing, turning into what insiders are calling de facto party prisons packed with Communist Party cadres. Even more striking is the quiet but unmistakable wave of internal exodus underway. Retired officials are abandoning their pensions entirely and fleeing overseas at all costs. From the so-called curse haunting Chongqing's officialdom to the terrifying general-slaying purges rocking the military, this has long ceased to be a routine anti-corruption campaign. Why are officials gripped by such extreme fear and anxiety? How much longer can this towering edifice of power, built entirely on fear, possibly hold? In previous episodes, we highlighted the suspicious signals surrounding Mayor Hu Henghua's repeated absences from key meetings. At the time, we assessed that this was no ordinary scheduling issue. He was almost certainly in trouble. Sure enough, on March 20th, the official announcement landed. According to the website of the Central Commission for Discipline Inspection and the National Supervisory Commission, Chongqing Municipal Party Committee Deputy Secretary and Mayor Hu Henghua is under investigation for suspected serious violations of party discipline and national law. We have previously delved deeply into the old Hunan case, tied to his background, as well as the political curse that has plagued Chongqing's official circles for over a decade. For those who haven't watched those segments, feel free to check them out. We won't rehash the history here today. Instead, let's focus on the very latest developments, the more concrete details, because on the exact same day Hu Henghua's fall was announced, March 20th, several seemingly separate but closely interconnected major events unfolded. When pieced together, they reveal a level of panic inside the system that far exceeds a simple anti-corruption drive. Also on March 20th, Beijing's No. 2 Intermediate People's Court delivered a first-instance verdict against Wu Kunrong, former party group secretary and chairman of the Shaanxi Provincial Committee of the Chinese People's Political Consultative Conference. Life imprisonment, with all personal assets confiscated. Why bring him up? Because Wu Kunrong once served in Chongqing. He was a key subordinate of current Politburo member and Tianjin Municipal Party Committee Secretary Chen Min'er. In 2017, he transferred to Chongqing as a member of the Municipal Party Committee Standing Committee and Executive Vice Mayor. By 2021, he had risen to Deputy Secretary of the Chongqing Municipal Party Committee, becoming the right-hand man to then Chongqing leader Chen Min'er. According to the court statement, from 2006 to 2024, Wu used his position to facilitate matters in project approvals, land use changes and more, accepting bribes totaling more than 127 million yuan. On one side, the sitting mayor falls. On the other, a former deputy party secretary of the city receives life. What does this tell us? It confirms that the Chongqing curse we have discussed is not mere armchair analysis. It's unfolding in real time. Beyond the high ranks, mid and lower level officials are faring no better. In just under 3 months this year, roughly 30 officials in Chongqing alone have been investigated, including Mu Jun, Deputy General Manager of the Expressway Group, and Li Weidong, Party Secretary of Wuxi County. What do you make of this relentless pace of arrests? Feel free to share your thoughts in the comments. We'd love to hear from you. With so many people being taken in, the obvious next question is, where are they being held? Multiple sources inside the system have reported a surreal phenomenon. In certain regions, prison and detention center populations have surged noticeably, especially among officials implicated in bribery and corruption. Since January this year, prisons and detention facilities in Shandong, Henan and elsewhere have taken in large batches of corruption-related detainees, including retired bureau-level officials and state-owned enterprise executives. A well-placed insider, Shu Yue, who has long observed the prison system, revealed that starting from late December last year, authorities initiated a retrospective investigation mode. These veteran cadres were first secretly detained, then fast-tracked through quick trials and quick verdicts before being sent en masse to prisons. The process has been extraordinarily swift. Xu Yue, as a long-time observer of the prison landscape, expressed shock at the current scene. The prisons have never been this crammed with Communist Party members. Everywhere you look, it's former impeccably dressed bribe takers. Among them are those who embezzled tens of millions or millions of yuan. The proportion of intra-party prisoners has now overwhelmed ordinary criminal inmates. In Zhengzhou, Henan, a retired civil servant surnamed Sun reported the same pattern. A friend working in the political legal committee told him that public security, procuratorates and courts now treat anti-corruption as their primary mission, investigating and arresting everywhere. That friend lamented that prisons have become the Communist Party's own party jails, filled almost entirely with party cadres. Moreover, case processing speeds are abnormally fast. A Wenzhou lawyer who has handled dozens of corruption cases disclosed that local political legal committees now prioritize stability maintenance and demand rapid trials and verdicts. What used to take over a year in procedural steps, from procuratorial approval of arrest to court sentencing, now typically wraps up in 8 or 9 months. In a recent case she handled, the defendant suddenly told her he was pleading guilty, yet family members insisted he had not confessed. Xu Yue has similarly noted that almost no one appeals after sentencing. Clearly, under opaque operations, some kind of deal has been forced. What is the underlying logic? Chinese scholar Geng Yan put it bluntly. This round of anti-corruption has 2 direct drivers. First, top leaders believe certain cadres' political loyalty is questionable and require rescreening and purging. Second, severe fiscal shortfalls have emerged. Authorities view vast resources as still held by officials, so they are using anti-corruption as a direct mechanism to confiscate assets. In plain terms, amid fiscal strain, political purges have become a tool for revenue extraction. This also explains why even public security officers are now being reassigned to investigate economic crimes, tax evasion, and relatives of corrupt officials. Watching colleagues disappear one after another with prisons overflowing, what do the remaining officials do? The answer is straightforward: they run. In recent months, multiple retired CCP officials have vanished after exiting the country, directly triggering high-level alarm. According to system insider Shen Qingtian, since January this year, at least 6 retired officials have gone missing after going abroad. Most are bureau-level cadres and division chiefs whose families already reside in the United States, Australia or Europe. Before departing, they liquidated domestic properties and withdrew the bulk of their savings. After leaving, they cut all contact with China, even forfeiting their pensions. Shen Qingtian assesses this not as spur of the moment, but as premeditated flight. Though not yet on current retrospective lists, these officials, having witnessed colleagues fall one by one, are so terrified by the overall environment that they prefer to abandon retirement benefits and carry assets overseas to jump ship for survival. In Beijing, scholar Li has observed this fear spreading to mid and lower level officials. The new wave of retrospective probes has reignited panic among retirees who once thought they had safely landed. A retired division-level official surnamed Huang in Taiyuan, Shanxi, described the current atmosphere in circles as every tree and blade of grass an enemy. Officials live in constant anxiety over when old accounts might be reopened. Some even suspect secret investigations simply because they weren't promoted, plunging into extreme tension. Passport restrictions, a deadlock where no one dares approve. This exodus has created major trouble. One key trigger was the public defection of Ma Ruilin, former Deputy Secretary of the Gansu Provincial United Front Work Department. After fleeing to the United States with his family, Ma gave an exclusive interview to CNN. He not only confirmed the existence of Xinjiang re-education camps, but stated outright that most officials inside the system offer Xi Jinping only superficial praise while harboring deep resentment. This caused immense embarrassment at the top. As a Hui ethnicity cadre with 2 decades in ethnic and religious affairs, his exit exposed a glaring vulnerability in the United Front system. Insider Xu Jian added that Ma's revelations will very likely lead to severe accountability for those who approved his departure. The direct consequence, authorities have sharply tightened private overseas travel approvals. Recently, internal notices from Central Party and State Council organs and affiliated enterprises have mandated strict scrutiny of cadre passport applications and renewals. Border control mechanisms have been strengthened as well. Units are now screening retirees' family situations, including overseas ties, children's whereabouts, property holdings, and deposits. Any discrepancy between assets and income triggers exit bans. Insider Ding Yu described the current approval process as joint guarantee liability. Whoever approves bears responsibility. If the retiree fails to return, the approver faces dismissal. This extreme collective punishment has led grassroots personnel departments to protect themselves, to adopt a strategy of delay, obstruction, and outright rejection for all exit applications. For core departments like United Front, Public Security, and State Security, retirement travel approvals were already stringent. Now they have reached a complete impasse of no one dares review, no one dares guarantee. In effect, most officials' legal right to exit has been frozen. Serving officials cannot leave at all, and retirees seeking to sell assets and settle abroad now face targeted investigations. While local officials flee, military generals are hardly at ease. Consider the numbers. Since Xi Jinping took power, he has personally promoted 81 admirals and generals, thoroughly refreshing military leadership. Yet behind this massive promotion drive lies an unprecedented purge. Of known purge generals, nearly 70 are at the admiral general level. Among the 81 personally promoted by Xi, close to 60 have been purged. That ratio is staggering. In January alone this year, authorities took down 10 tigers in one go, including Central Military Commission Vice Chairman Zhang Yuxia and CMC member Liu Zhenli. Independent commentator Kai Shenkun noted that this scale of purge is unprecedented in CCP military history. This approach of tearing down and rebuilding amounts to a violent dismantling of the existing power structure. The general rank has become a high-risk profession, delivering a devastating blow to military officers' professional dignity and institutional trust. Australia-based scholar Yuan Hongbing mentioned that inside CCP official circles, top leaders are now privately nicknamed the General Slayer. What are the consequences of such purges? Taiwan's National Defense Security Research Institute scholar Shen Mingxi analyzed that constant rectification creates power vacuums and a shortage of high-caliber successors. More gravely, it hampers military equipment development. In the past, generals driven by corruption had incentives to push R&D now. With such ferocious anti-graft pressure, the risks are too high. No one dares continue. Absent profit motives and amid pervasive fear, a lie-flat mentality has naturally taken root within the PLA. Finally, a brief mention of another case from March 20th. That day, the Xinjiang City People's Procuratorate in Henan announced the formal prosecution of Shi Yongxin, former abbot of Shaolin Temple. Shi Yongxin left home at 16 to become a monk, assumed the abbot position in 1999, and held it for 26 years. Dubbed the Buddhist CEO, he reportedly held 80% of the shares in Henan Shaolin Intangible Assets Management Kommanditschaftsstelle Lit. He came under investigation last July, was arrested in November on suspicion of duty encroachment, embezzlement, and bribery. This prosecution adds the charge of offering bribes. Years earlier, named accusations surfaced of him keeping mistresses, fathering illegitimate children, and embezzling assets, yet all went nowhere. Only last year did he suddenly fall, with the official charges matching those old reports. Public opinion widely holds that this political monk was toppled not by anti-corruption per se, but because his backers collapsed. This once again confirms our earlier analysis. The current wave of reckoning remains at root a reshuffling of power. To sum up today's content, From Chongqing Mayor Hu Henghua's investigation and Wu Kunrong's life sentence, to prisons overflowing into party jails, officials fleeing by abandoning assets and pensions, blanket passport freezes, and sweeping military general purges. All these threads point to one reality. China's officialdom has entered a state of extreme anxiety and disorder. Anti-corruption is no longer just about catching a few corrupt individuals. It's become a systematic confiscation and purge aimed at enforcing political loyalty and plugging fiscal holes. Under such intense pressure, fear permeates the system. No one feels safe. How much longer can a machine sustained purely by fear continue to function? What are your thoughts on this wave of internal great escape and lying flat phenomena? Please leave your views in the comments. We'd love to discuss together.